Mercury is in Taurus right now, and in the tarot, that is the Five of Pentacles. Now, when I think of Mercury being retrograde in Taurus, I think of reassessing our value systems. Your beliefs might be changing, right? You might have some changes happening in your consciousness, right? Maybe you are reaching a new level of consciousness, or maybe you're going back and relearning something that you just didn't make the connection with the first time it was presented to you. And now through this recapitulation, right? We are now seeing something clearly, or a little bit more clear than we were before. And one of the reasons I'm saying this is because the Mercury retrograde is in Taurus, right? Where's Venus? In Gemini right now, okay? And Venus is actually the esoteric ruler of Gemini. Think about it. And it's in the tarot, you can see it. The Empress is Venus, and it is number 3, and Gemini is the 3rd house. So these are ways that you can kind of remember the esoteric rulerships with the cards. Now, when I think of Venus being the esoteric ruler of Gemini, I think of Gemini being communication, and communication happens in the form of numbers, letters, figures, patterns, shapes. So it allows us to see diversity, you know? And if Venus, being the esoteric ruler of Gemini, allows us to distinguish diversity, okay? And the planet that rules Gemini is Mercury, retrograde in Taurus. So it's almost like they've swapped, right? And the moon is going to go conjunct Venus in Gemini at some point today. I don't know the time. I just see how close it is. And the moon moves quickly. So I know that at some point today or tomorrow, Venus is going to be conjunct the moon. Or the moon is going to actually be conjunct Venus. Anyway, valuing diversity. Okay? And also seeing the beauty, Taurus, in diversity. Nature shows us that, Mercury. Mercury and Gemini are also talking about, the earlier years of our lives, maybe in childhood, right? Mercury is the brain. It's when we're learning cognitive skills, and we are, basically mental sponges, okay? And we're pulling in all of the communications that are happening around us within our environment, going back to the Empress card, okay? So it's kind of like, what are we teaching the children? What do we want them to be conscious of? Do we want them to be more conscious of, like, what to not expect, what to fear, what to, get used to conditioning-wise? What are the values? And that is what Mercury is doing right now in Taurus. We're reassessing our value systems. Taurus, the Hierophant, is institutions, mentorships, those that are in power, the powers that be. It's the things that we cannot necessarily change, but we can. That's what Mercury is showing us in Taurus. And being that the Five of Pentacles is Mercury in Taurus, the Five of Pentacles is a card of lack. It's a card of feeling incapacitated, like that type of thing. Okay, I don't have it within me to do things differently or to see things differently. But you do have it in you, right? And what's so special about Taurus, because it's just as powerful as Scorpio, because it's opposite, you know, it's bringing balance. It's two sides of the same coin, okay? With the sign and its opposite. Let's just say that. Yeah. Because I realized that somebody was in Aries yesterday, and I was like, oh, this is why we be like, ha, 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 ha. Oh, really? Contrarily. Libra, right? Contrarily. Anyway, Mercury challenges us, okay? Just like communication challenges us, just like nature challenges us, just like math challenges us. And I think that sometimes we have to understand, or we have to realize for ourselves that, you know, we're not always right. There, you know, standards change. And that is what Mercury is also showing us in Taurus in this retrograde, okay? With Venus being the planet that rules Taurus, also being in the sign of diversity and also change, constant change, right? Mercury, constant changing, right? As the messenger of the gods, you can't, it's just going so, right? You can't control it. So there are some things that you can control. Evolution, right? You can't change. Well, there are some things that you can change that you shouldn't change. Like nature. In terms of climate and stuff like that, you know. And the other day, someone was asking me, what do you think the eclipse is going to do? Or the eclipse next spring. And I'm like, damn, that's like a year from now. What's going to happen in between now and then? Right? Situations, circumstances, consequences, things happen. But I will say this, the last eclipse that happened over this country in like 2017, 2018 was right after, you know, Trump was became president, and then Charlottesville, all of those things started to happen. Black Lives Matter, and then it led us to the pandemic. But right before COVID, like 6 months or like a year before COVID, we had, was it blue moon? It was like 2 full moons in Libras. Relationships. How are you relating to your what? Reality. Taurus, Venus. Oh my God. So this is what I think. Since the eclipse is happening over the eastern seaboard part of this country next spring, which is going to be the year that we have a lot of political things happening, okay? We always do, but it's an election year. So a lot of crazy stuff is probably going to be happening with maybe our president, who knows, if he is going to do another term. People challenging him. Donald Trump he's in hot water. And Ron DeSantis is becoming unpopular. So we could see a lot of new faces entering the election, and it won't be what we thought it was going to be. And also things with legislation and stuff like that. So we're going to be seeing a lot of changes.